We live in a world that celebrates the highlight reel, the big wins, the dramatic breakthroughs, the moments that make for a great story. But what we rarely see, and what most people fail to understand, is that true greatness is built in the moments that look like nothing at all. The most successful people aren't just good in the spotlight. They are relentless in the shadows. They are masters of repetition, showing up again and again to do the same things that no one will ever applaud them for. Discipline is not about chasing excitement. It's about showing up on the days that feel dull, the mornings when you'd rather stay in bed, the evenings when there's no rush of motivation to carry you. It's about doing the work when there's no applause, no recognition, no immediate payoff. That's the space where champions are made, not in the moment they hold the trophy, but in the thousands of invisible moments before it. Kobe Bryant didn't become one of basketball's greatest players because he loved every single drill. There were days when those drills were exhausting, repetitive, even tedious. But he did them anyway, day after day, year after year. While others were looking for shortcuts or waiting for the perfect burst of motivation, he was mastering the basics until they became second nature. The greatness people saw on the court was simply the public result of the private discipline they never saw. The truth is, most people don't fail because they can't handle the big challenges. They fail because they can't handle the boredom. They can't stay committed to doing the same foundational things long enough for the results to appear. They want every day to feel new, exciting, inspiring. But real progress often feels slow. It often feels ordinary. It often feels like nothing is changing. Until one day, everything has changed. When you learn to embrace the boring, you stop being a prisoner to your moods. You stop waiting for your work to feel thrilling before you do it. You stop needing constant novelty to keep going. Instead, you start finding satisfaction in the process itself. You take pride in the act of showing up, knowing that each repetition is a brick in the foundation you're building. This is one of the most freeing shifts you can make. Realizing that the value of your work isn't in how exciting it feels today, but in what it's building for tomorrow. The runner who logs their miles in silence, the musician who practices scales for the 1,000th time, the writer who puts words on the page even when the inspiration is dry, these are the ones who eventually cross the finish line, play the perfect piece, or publish the book. When you chase only the moments that feel exciting, you burn out. But when you commit to the moments that feel ordinary, you grow roots, you become steady. You develop a kind of quiet confidence because you know you can show up no matter how you feel. And that consistency over time becomes unstoppable. If you want to reach your highest potential, stop looking for a constant rush. Learn to be at peace with the repetition, the monotony, the grind. Because hidden inside the boring is the work that transforms you, not instantly, not dramatically, but permanently. And when you finally reach your moment in the spotlight, you'll know it wasn't magic or luck. It was built in every single quiet, unremarkable moment you refuse to skip. Pain is not a sign that you are failing. It is proof that you are trying. No matter who you are, no matter how talented or determined, you will face moments that hurt. There will be failures that leave you questioning yourself, rejections that sting, setbacks that make you wonder if the effort is worth it. Pain is inevitable, but what you do with that pain will define the rest of your journey. Some people let it crush them. They see pain as a wall and stop moving. Others, they use that pain as fuel. They take the very thing meant to break them and turn it into the fire that drives them forward. Look at the lives of those who have built something extraordinary, and you will always find the same story. Pain was part of it. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers before the world ever heard the name Harry Potter. 12 times she was told no. 12 times she was handed proof that she wasn't good enough. At least, that's what they wanted her to believe. But instead of letting those rejections bury her, she used them. She refined her work, sharpened her storytelling, and kept knocking on doors until one opened. And when it did, the series she had once written in cafes became one of the most successful in history. The pain didn't stop her. It prepared her. That's what discipline does. It turns pain into purpose. It refuses to let a setback become a dead end. Every failure becomes a teacher. Every rejection becomes a reason to sharpen your skills. Every obstacle becomes a stepping stone, not a stumbling block. The difference between those who break and those who rise is not that one group avoids pain, it's that they know how to use it. Pain is powerful because it gets your attention. You can ignore comfort. You can coast through easy days, but pain demands a response. It forces you to stop and decide. Will this moment make me weaker or stronger? Will I let it close me down, or will I let it open me up to a deeper level of resilience? Discipline answers those questions for you. It says, I don't care how much this hurts. I'm still going. The temptation in hard times is to retreat, to protect yourself, to avoid anything that could hurt again. But if you do that, you also avoid growth. Pain shows you where your limits are, and discipline pushes those limits back. The athlete who loses a championship doesn't quit, he trains harder. The entrepreneur whose business fails doesn't walk away forever. She studies what went wrong and builds something better. The person who's been knocked down one more time than they can count learns the most valuable lesson of all. They can stand back up. You can let pain be the reason you stop, or you can let it be the reason you become unstoppable. When you choose the second, something shifts inside you. You stop fearing failure because you realize it's not the end. It's the beginning of the next version of you. You stop seeing rejection as a verdict and start seeing it as a redirection. You stop wishing for an easy road because you understand that the hard road is the one that shapes you. Every person who has ever reached greatness has scars. They carry the memory of times they thought they couldn't keep going, but did. And those scars aren't signs of weakness. They are proof of strength. When you learn to use pain as fuel, you stop running from the fire and start feeding it. You let it burn away what's unnecessary and ignite what's unstoppable within you. And when that happens, no setback, no rejection, no failure will ever have the power to break you again. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about refusing to give up when it's hard. It's the courage to show up every single day, no matter what life throws at you. Remember these 6 principles. 1. Know your why. 2. Remove the option to quit. 3. Build habits, not bursts. 4. Control your environment. 5. Embrace the boring. 6. Use pain as fuel. Discipline isn't measured by how spectacularly you can act in a single moment. It's measured by what you can repeat over and over again, even when it feels ordinary. Anyone can give a burst of energy once. Anyone can sprint for a short distance. But the ones who go the farthest are the ones who know how to keep moving, even when no one is watching, even when it's not exciting. It's not about grand gestures. It's about small, repeated actions that slowly build something extraordinary. There's a story about a man who decided he wanted to write a book. Instead of locking himself away for weeks trying to produce hundreds of pages in a rush, he committed to writing just 200 words a day. At first, it seemed insignificant. 200 words felt like nothing, a mere drop in the ocean of his ambition. But he kept going. Day after day, through good moods and bad, through sickness, fatigue, and distraction, he wrote those 200 words. And after a year, he had something most people only dream of, a finished novel. Not because he had a single burst of genius, but because he showed up every single day. This is the essence of discipline, consistency over intensity. People often overestimate what they can do in a short burst and underestimate what they can achieve through steady, daily effort. One brick a day might seem slow, but if you keep laying bricks, eventually you will have a wall strong enough to stand against time. On the other hand, stacking 100 bricks in one day and then stopping for a month will never build anything lasting. The reason bursts fail is simple. They rely on motivation, and motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes, swayed by mood, weather, and circumstances. But habits, true, disciplined habits, don't care how you feel. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They are automatic, ingrained into who you are. When you build a habit, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of starting and stopping. You no longer waste energy on convincing yourself to begin. You've already built the pathway in your mind, and you simply walk it each day. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You don't ask yourself whether you're in the mood. You just do it, because it's what you do. The challenge is that habits don't feel heroic in the moment. They feel small, almost invisible. And because the progress they create is slow, it's easy to doubt them. But that's the trap. Greatness is rarely born from explosive effort. It's crafted in the quiet repetition of doing the right thing again and again, until the results become undeniable. If you want to be unbreakable, stop asking yourself how to do more in a day and start asking yourself what you can do every day without fail. A single workout won't change your body, but 100 will. A single day of saving money won't make you wealthy, but years of saving will change your life. A single conversation won't repair a relationship, but steady, patient communication will rebuild trust. Consistency is where transformation hides. The world celebrates the spectacular, but the foundation of everything remarkable is built in the ordinary. That's why so many people fail. They chase the rush of intensity, but they don't have the patience for the steady rhythm of habits. They sprint, burn out, and start over, never realizing that the slow, steady walker will always pass them in the end. So don't focus on the burst. Focus on the brick. Focus on the page. Focus on the step. If you can master the art of showing up, even in the smallest way every single day, you will not just achieve your goals. You will become the kind of person who never needs to rely on bursts again. You will be steady, resilient, and unshakable. And that is the true power of discipline. We often convince ourselves that willpower is all we need, that if we're strong enough, focused enough, determined enough, nothing can sway us. But the truth is, discipline isn't just about what happens inside your mind. It's deeply influenced by the world around you. Your environment has the power to either make discipline feel natural or make it feel like a constant uphill battle. And no matter how strong you think you are, if your surroundings are working against you, they will eventually wear you down. Imagine someone trying to eat healthy while their kitchen shelves are stacked with cookies, chips, and soda. At first, they might resist. For a few days, maybe even a few weeks, they'll rely on sheer willpower. But every time they walk into that kitchen, the temptation is right there, whispering. It's not a matter of if they'll give in, it's only a matter of when. The same is true for focus. You might promise yourself you'll work without distraction, but if your phone is buzzing every 2 minutes, if social media is one tap away, your attention will be stolen in fragments until you're left wondering where your day went. This isn't just opinion, it's science. Research from Duke University has shown that about 45% of our daily actions aren't conscious decisions at all. They're habits triggered by our environment, which means nearly half of what you do each day is simply a response to the cues around you. You might think you're making a deliberate choice, but in reality, your surroundings are guiding you. That's why changing your environment is one of the most powerful ways to change your life. It's not about making yourself tougher, it's about making it easier to do the right thing and harder to do the wrong one. If you want to eat better, fill your home with healthy options and remove the foods that sabotage your goals. If you want to read more, keep books within reach and put your phone in another room. If you want to save money, automate your savings so the decision happens without you having to think about it. The people who seem effortlessly disciplined often aren't relying on constant willpower. They've simply built environments that keep them aligned with their goals. They've designed their lives in a way where the easiest choice is also the right choice. But here's the other side. If you don't take control of your environment, someone else will. Companies, advertisers, social media platforms, they're all experts at shaping the spaces you live in to capture your attention, your money, your time. And they're relentless. Every notification is designed to pull you in. Every ad is tailored to trigger your impulses. If you don't actively create boundaries, you're letting those forces dictate your habits without even realizing it. The change doesn't have to be dramatic. Even small shifts can have a massive impact over time. If you replace the candy bowl on your desk with a bowl of fruit, you'll eat differently without even thinking about it. If you leave your running shoes by the door, you're more likely to go for that jog. If you clear your desk before you start working, your mind will feel lighter, sharper, more ready to focus. Discipline feels hard when every choice you make is a fight. But if you change your surroundings so that the fight is gone, you'll be amazed at how much easier it becomes to stay consistent. You'll stop relying on bursts of self-control and start living in a space where the right actions happen naturally. Because the truth is, when your environment supports your goals, discipline doesn't just survive, it thrives. There is a truth that many people ignore. Success is not about talent, luck, or intelligence. It's about discipline. Discipline is the quiet force that shapes dreams into reality. It's what makes someone keep going when everyone else has stopped. Without discipline, the best ideas remain ideas. With discipline, even the smallest effort can grow into extraordinary achievement. Today, we will dive deep into the psychology of discipline, not just how to practice it, but how to become unbreakable. You're going to discover 6 key principles that will change the way you approach life, no matter what obstacles stand in your way. Discipline begins long before the first action. It begins in the mind, in the quiet corners of your heart, where your deepest reasons live. If you don't know why you're doing something, you will abandon it the moment it becomes uncomfortable. People don't quit because they're weak. They quit because they never truly knew why they started. Without a strong why, every obstacle feels like a wall. But with purpose, every obstacle becomes a step. Think about an athlete who wakes up at 5 a.m. every single day, not for a week, not for a month, but for years. The world sees the medals, the victories, the glory, but they don't see the lonely mornings, the aching muscles, the days when everything in their body screamed to stay in bed. That athlete doesn't endure all that for the sake of a simple routine. They do it because they carry a vision in their soul, a vision of standing on a podium, of hearing their name announced, of feeling the weight of a medal that tells the story of every sacrifice they ever made. Michael Phelps didn't train for years before dawn because it was fun. He didn't push himself through endless laps because it was easy. He did it because his vision of who he wanted to become was stronger than the temptation to stay comfortable. That's the kind of why you need. The kind that burns inside you so deeply that giving up feels more painful than pushing forward. Your why is your anchor. Without it, you drift. You might start something with enthusiasm, but the moment resistance shows up, your motivation fades. But when you have a strong why, you don't just push through resistance, you expect it and you're ready for it. A parent working 3 jobs to give their children a better life doesn't stop because they're tired. A student determined to break free from the cycle of poverty doesn't quit because the coursework is difficult. They hold on because their why is stronger than their comfort. So ask yourself, really ask yourself, what is the reason behind the things you want? Not the surface reason, but the one buried under layers of habit, fear, and excuses. Why do you want to get fit? Why do you want to start that business? Why do you want to master that skill? If your answer is vague, it won't carry you through the storms. I just want to look better will not pull you out of bed at dawn. But I want to be healthy enough to play with my children without gasping for air, Will. I want to make more money might excite you for a month, but I want to create a life where my family never has to worry about bills again will carry you for years. Your why must be emotional. Logic will give you good intentions, but emotion will make you act. If your reason doesn't move you, if it doesn't make your chest tighten when you think about it, it won't be strong enough when you're tired, stressed, or discouraged. And here's the truth. Your why must be yours, not borrowed from someone else. Too many people chase goals because they think they should, because society says it's impressive, or because someone they admire did it. But borrowed dreams have no power. You can admire another person's journey, but your why must come from your own values, your own vision, your own heart. Once you find it, protect it. Write it down. Repeat it to yourself when the alarm goes off and you don't want to move. See it in your mind when the work feels endless. Let it be the thing that pushes you when you can't push yourself. Because when your why is strong enough, you will find the how. And once you have both, discipline is no longer a struggle. It becomes who you are. The human mind is wired for comfort. It will always choose the path of least resistance unless you train it otherwise. The moment things get difficult, a quiet voice inside starts whispering, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, maybe when I'm ready. And at first, those whispers seem harmless. But they are the beginning of a pattern, the slow erosion of commitment until quitting becomes a habit. That's why, if you want to build unshakable discipline, you must remove the option to quit completely. Not limit it, not reduce it. Remove it. Most people think discipline is a daily decision, but that's where they fail. If you wake up every morning and have to decide whether or not you'll take action, you're wasting mental energy. You're giving your mind room to negotiate, to bargain with you, to tempt you into comfort. The trick is to make the decision once, not over and over again. Once it's made, it's no longer a question of if, it's only a matter of when and how. Think about it like this. If you've decided to exercise every day, the moment you allow yourself to ask, should I work out today? You've already lost momentum. That question is an invitation for excuses to walk in. But if you decide once, in advance, this is just who I am now. I am someone who trains daily. There's nothing left to debate. You simply show up. The mind is clever. It will use logic against you, presenting perfectly reasonable arguments for why you can skip just this once. You're tired. You deserve a break. One day won't hurt. And maybe it won't, if it truly is one day. But more often than not, one day becomes two, and two becomes a week. Before you know it, you've built the habit of quitting, and that habit is far more dangerous than any physical challenge you could face. This is why removing the option to quit is so powerful. It frees you from the constant back-and-forth battle in your own head. You no longer have to waste willpower deciding. You've already decided. Now you act. Consider the difference between someone who tries to change and someone who commits to change. The person who tries says, "I'll see how it goes." They're already halfway out the door. The person who commits says, "This is non-negotiable." That's the moment transformation begins. The decision itself becomes a foundation, something unshakable, something that remains even when motivation disappears. In life, the people who achieve extraordinary things often aren't the ones who had the easiest path. They're the ones who never gave themselves an exit. They removed the backup plan. They burned the bridges behind them, so the only direction left was forward. That doesn't mean recklessness. It means clarity. It means that in your mind, quitting is no longer even a possible outcome. Think of a soldier on a mission. They don't wake up wondering if they'll complete it. They wake up knowing the mission is already theirs to finish. The same mindset applies to your goals. When you treat them like missions instead of options, your brain starts to obey a different set of rules. It won't always be pleasant. There will be mornings you drag yourself through the motions, evenings where your body feels heavy and your mind feels slower than ever. But if you've removed the option to quit, none of that matters. You still do it. And every time you follow through, you reinforce to yourself, I can be trusted. I keep my word. That trust is the very essence of discipline. When you take quitting off the table, you stop being a victim of mood, weather, or convenience. You become driven not by how you feel in the moment, but by who you've committed to becoming. And that is when the real transformation begins.